world is constantly in motion, and as it turns, things evolve. Innovation affects our everyday lives and also pushes industry leaders further to the top. What is often obscure and very unclear is what digitalization, innovation, and change mean to the systems that operate the affected business ecosystems. With change being the only real constant, how can you manage to stay on top of it? Unleash your transformation potential with ADOIT. Create transparency on assets, their connections, and their characteristics. Improve governance of your enterprise assets. Use this digital blueprint to break down silos and reduce transformation complexity. Achieve business IT alignment and increase enterprise agility by taking smarter decisions faster. Allocate enterprise assets more efficiently while reducing costs and maximizing value. Putting customers and their experiences at the center of everything you do. Achieving sustainable success is a journey. ADOIT helps you jumpstart transformation and never lose sight of where you're heading. Design on all levels, your applications, your interfaces, your data and data flows, your business models, digital transformation. Design so much more. ADOIT provides you with everything you need to get your EA initiative started in no time. Collect existing EA knowledge through out-of-the-box connectors to quickly assemble your EA baseline. Intuitively add logical relations between assets and let ADOIT recommend the best way to connect them. Visualize the focal points in your enterprise to have joint ground for discussions with various stakeholders and stay up to speed on dependencies you may have missed otherwise. ADOIT helps you document the state of your enterprise, but it still holds so much more. Connect your EA assets with your audience, allowing them to easily run reports you define for them. Provide asset-centric insights through stakeholder-specific dashboards, converging architectural information and live operational data into actionable insights. Address key architectural questions anytime, anywhere, and leverage powerful visual representations for improved communication and storytelling. And finally, engage to achieve sustainable success. Analyze your architecture. Experiencing time is just yet another variable. And let smart algorithms support you in choosing your next step. While the future of your business is not yet written, it waits right here in front of us, ready to be designed. Switch to the leading enterprise architecture suite with no effort. You get so much more with ADOIT. Explore the full potential and extend your tool suite on the marketplace. Grow your skills with free resources and webinars on the Knowledge Hub, and benefit from experience in a global network of experts. Leverage the full BOC Group experience. Knowledge management is our DNA for more than 25 years, creating advantage from startups to Fortune 500 companies. Wherever you are, worldwide. ADOIT creates digital advantage. Agile, sustainable, better.
In our architecture here, based on the goals, we can then initiate here, so requirements and projects to kind of like have a change in the architecture, maybe decommission an application that is redundant. We might have two applications that are more or less doing the same thing. Why continue doing that? So maybe it's a cost-cutting kind of like approach. It could also be being more resilient. So we want to have maybe backups for certain applications that are very important in our enterprise. That are realizing or serving or part of a lot of capabilities. So there maybe want to have a backup in place and so forth. So you're able to define not only your asset in the tool, having it digitally in the tool, contextualized in the tool, and also all the corresponding relationships. But also you're able to then assets them digitally in the tool to analyze it, to turn it around, to create graphs, to create reports, to have a better understanding of what you have out there, and not just simply, placing it on a repository, having it on an Excel sheet, or having it in a certain report without really understanding the overall concepts there. So this is the idea, getting a better understanding of your assets. Now in Adonis, we do have also the business process modeling tool that allows us then to also focus here a bit more detailed on the process side. So we can create processes in a BPMN 2.0 fashion. And also in ADOIT GRC, that's our third tool, we do have, as you can see down here, threat assessment, but it's much more powerful, I would maybe use that word, as you have a lot of workflows behind it. So these are different tools, different products that can be incorporated into ADOIT. Maybe throughout the course of the demo, I'll also go quickly into the ecosystem of ADOIT so that you also have an idea that it's not just this enterprise architecture tool, but ADOIT can communicate with other tools out there, third-party tools, CMDBs, and so forth, via the API that ADOIT also offers. Okay. Now, let me just quickly click here. You can see that you can tone it down here. You can make this kind of like meta model a little bit less complex, less options or less objects available. You can also create your own attributes. You can go in and you can alter the assets that you have there. If you define that you internally have certain ways to contextualize your application component that are not part of our current structure, you can just add those attributes into the tool. So it's a very configurable meta model. Any questions up until here? Of this slide deck here, I'll also present it then afterwards. I'll send it then over. If you have questions, just also feel free to interrupt. Like, we don't have to wait till the end for questions. So I'm in the tool now. This is my kind of like landing page. First, one of the things you can see here in the landing page, you can alter here this banner to have a bit more kind of like your banner, your logos in place, but it opens up things that you recently created. It opens up views analysis that you have set up as favorites, or also objects that you are responsible for. This is quite useful because very often you have asset owners, maybe application owners, application architects, technology or solutions architects, business architects, and they might have a lot of assets. And here the tool allows you to keep track of if an asset has been looked at and perceived or checked upon continuously, right? So you can make them here green, you can make them from green, they become yellow, and then from yellow, they become red in a traffic light system. The tool sends out notifications that you can configure in order to have the asset owners be aware that there's assets in the tool that are related to them, that they're responsible for, and that they need to update them, right? From here, you could, for instance, let's maybe go into like a maybe high-level approach. I already have data in my tool. I have already created my assets in the tool. So I might want to visualize them or have a better understanding of my different portfolios that I have, right? So you see I have a couple of samples here. These are samples from like a fake money bank. We call it the ADO Money Bank. So when I click it, it will open up different tabs here where I can also see, for instance, visualizations in different formats of the data. Now I've chosen here in this case applications as my data set. So you can see here, you can see the data set is a bunch of applications and some capabilities the applications might be belonging to, right? So I've, for instance, here in this third dimensional graph here with the x-axis, y-axis being business and cost fit, and the bubble size being the strategic importance, I can see from all my applications that I've selected in my data set, which ones are the ones that I might need to focus on a bit more, that have maybe a gap or maybe something that's not running correctly. So obviously down here at the bottom left, I see the ones that are maybe not so well specified or not well, first of all, documented, but by that way also showing me that I might need to focus a bit more maybe on this one. Maybe this one's also not perfect, right? This one here doesn't look so good either, but the strategic importance is not so high, right? On the top right, those I don't need to maybe focus so much. So I can make sure that I see which ones do I need to focus on and which ones should I put more emphasis and efforts on. So I can share this with my stakeholders, with my fellow colleagues. I can click the share button here and share the link. Obviously, as you saw, these reports are saved in my repository, so I can save them. They're part of my repository where all the data is then also stored. I can export these graphs in different formats to use them in reports if I wish to. Nice thing is also here, you can alter these views. So if I say, well, I don't want to see the business fit, I want to see maybe the cost fit, right? well, the cost fit I also have there actually. Maybe I want to see something else, your customization level, for instance, right? So maybe the customization level is something I want to focus on. So you can just alter it, click on the update, and it alters and changes then your view. Now I have my customization level at the bottom here, right? Let's go back here to to business fit, and let's go into the color. So in the color, you can enable it here, clicking it on and off and selecting basically a fourth attribute, right? So if you say the customization level, let's focus on that. You see that it's a very high customization level. Maybe we should reverse it here, being red, meaning that it's quite, as it's customized, probably lots of efforts in it too. So this kind of like pinpoints more to me, it makes it more clear that this one here, for instance, is the one I need to focus on a bit more. But I also see gaps. I don't see, for instance, any customization level being entered here in all the others. So this could be also used as a way to find gaps and to talk to the corresponding stakeholders to fill in and be aware that we need also the other attributes available, right? There could be other views, such as maybe matrices, where you see how the business processes in this case are being served by the applications. So I'm using format data set the applications, and it's then pulling out all the related business processes. Here I see who is the corresponding actor, who is the corresponding owner of this application. So also here I can go into a color overlay if I wish to. Realization, what are the application services that I'm realizing, operating costs, technology-based road mapping, where I can also see when something has been valid or activated from. So you see that there's different mechanisms, different charting mechanisms that allow me then to plot the information into my corresponding graph, right? So I can, for instance, see here I have my, let me just update the view or maybe take this one out here. Or let's select an investment cost. You see the various different templates that I can also choose here. So maybe I want to select this one here. And now it's selecting and plotting out the corresponding costs, operating costs. You see the capability up here has an overall cost of 158,000, right? And it's a combination of the sum of all the applications that are part of this capability. As we put here the sum, right? And this is also investment cost. You can alter it. Again, you can create whatever report you wish, right? So this is mechanisms and ways to better understand what the capabilities are in various different formats, in an impact format, but also costing perspective. Where do you have maybe bad fits, road mapping examples? So all of this is possible with the different types of kind of like approaches to analyze and approaches to create the data, right? Maybe if we go back here and we check out this one here, the one that's a little bit bad, we can focus on a bit more by going into the insights of this application. Now, the insights of the application will plot out to me a lot of important information regarding this particular asset. Now, here I'm looking at an application called Partner System. I can see when it was last time updated. So maybe this is not so good. Again, we can alter here. Maybe it should be updated on a yearly basis, maybe on a quarterly basis, and so forth. And this is visible to other people as well. So that then if this is maybe not updated at all, then I might not use it, or I might want to contact the corresponding owner, as I see here in the RACI matrix of this asset, right? Currently, that's anyways me. As I'm logged in, you see on the top right here is Archie Arch. But I see also who needs to be consulted and so forth, right? The overall network of this application here. So I can see, for instance, there is capabilities, services, processes. So I can click all of these open, and maybe let's put the business side here on one end. And then also technologies, for instance. So I can see there's my technologies here, 3 of them. So I can click them, I can move them around and click into them to have a better understanding of those technologies, or click into all of these different connecting these assets that this application is somehow related to, right? A better understanding of how it's related we get down here in a tabular format, also showing us what type of connection it is, right? So I can see that it is using certain interfaces or providing certain interfaces, right? I can see that it's accessing certain business data. It is serving here this particular process. I can also see then the owner of this process, can contact that person if necessary. the surrounding application, or the applications are surrounding this particular application. So in other words, the interface relationships between them. So I see that there's 2 here and many on the side. So these interfaces here are actually provided by partner system to communicate to the others on the right side here, right? So I'm seeing that I'm serving on the vice versa. The 2 on the left side here, those are the ones that are composing these interfaces or providing me these interfaces from partner system to be able to use it. Further down here, I see classification elements that we'll talk about just a little bit, as this is based on certain scoring mechanisms that we can do in the tool. There's other scenarios up here that allow us to also work with scoring, which we'll get into in a bit more. But let's keep going here in this place in this insights dashboard, the redundancy. So there you see, for instance, what I mentioned at the very beginning, you might have 2 applications that are doing maybe very similar or realizing very similar services or capabilities. So for instance, there you see there's a bunch, but there's many more, right? So business partner and partner system have a lot in common here. While, for instance, credit card manager and partner system only have 3 capabilities that both are realizing, right? So you might wonder, why is there so much in common here? Is this good or is this bad? Are we maybe having 2 applications that provide the same service? Why having 2? Maybe we're paying double, maybe 2 separate teams bought a similar system. Let's say a business process modeling tool, ADOIT, and something else. You are not aware of it, but now you know, right? But it could also be that one is maybe the kind of like replacement of the other, or is maybe supporting the other as a backup, right? So if you scroll down here, you also see that we're being presented with the current lifecycle data of this application. So I see that it's actually going to be eliminated, and it's going to be valid only until next year. And this one actually here, business partner, is going to be the one that will be replacing. So it's a good thing they have a lot in common in this case, right? Continuing down, I see my data that is being transferred. So I, for instance, can click on tax data, and I'm seeing that partner system and capital returns here are, well, this one's sending essentially this data to this one here, right? And always our partner system is somehow involved. So it's always going to pull out the information where my current insights that I'm looking at is somehow related to. Obviously, there's many more data objects in the repository, but this is the one relevant to this particular application. Again, here my data objects, the ownership, my technologies or system softwares that are being utilized to support or realize my corresponding application. Where, in which models am I using this application? So I see quite well how important it is or how it's structured, right? You can create them various reports from PDF and Word file reports. You can alter also how they look. So basically, these are kind of like paper per paper reports, tabular reports of all the information behind this asset. You can validate it, making sure that people comply if it's being created or being used in models to certain rules. And let's jump into this one here, the analysis. So you can create an analysis by selecting templates that you can also create yourself. So I'm going to take this one here, and I know it's going to be quite big. So I'm going to create this template or application footprint with the partner system application. So it's going to plot out now, it's going to take out all the corresponding relationships that we have built up with this application. All right. So you see down here, this is my application partner system, and it is connected, realizing, providing interfaces to these processes here and these capabilities up there, right? So it is quite an important application in my infrastructure. Why is this information taken out here or presented? Because we predefined the template to show me capabilities, business processes, business objects, application interfaces. It could be also a completely different template. You can make your own template that you need maybe in a monthly report to provide to management, and you can say, okay, pull it out, you make the one click, and then it presents then this particular view that you can obviously also alter. It's not something, it's not a picture, it's a live thing. And it also alters depending on if there's changes being done to the objects, right? So you can just refresh it, and it then is basically a live model of your current data and structure. If I go back here and I create the analysis dependencies, but from scratch, I will now be able to define how do I want to draw it up here? What do I want to understand about my application? So for instance, you can say, well, let's go with the corresponding business actor. I'm going to put that person or that team above the IT department here. I'm going to then also have a look at the different capabilities that my application is serving. But for instance, if I want to focus on one in particular, or maybe on this one, I notice, oh, there's actually many more applications that are realizing this particular capability. So I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to put them below. So just looking from this application, I wasn't really sure necessarily, not from like this first view, from now to the next endpoint, how other applications or maybe other services are realizing this particular capability. But now I'm able to kind of like do a more defined path and drill down and better understand also the overall structures and impacts, right? So if I'm looking at this, I can also see that, well, there's various principles that I'm influencing with this capability, right? So it could be all of those. I'm going to put below. So I'm building up my view and my understanding. I see that it's a good influence. They got a little plus here that you can define here. So this is also a very important capability to be influencing and complying with certain principles that we have set out in our company. You notice there's goals and so forth. So there's a lot of information that you can do. But maybe let's say I am now also defining this view and drilling down, but then also realizing, well, you know what, here actually there should be many more applications that are realizing this, or there's a couple more application services that are realizing this. Or maybe from here, I noticed that there's only one process that I'm serving, but there should be actually two. I know for a fact there's two. So there's mechanisms here, very good ones. You can click on the comments. So when you click on the comments, it will open up these little bubbles. So you can define little bubbles, or not define, but you can define comments or to-dos or tasks to people. So if I'm looking at this one here and I may be drilling down, I may be a process owner or a business-related stakeholder, and I'm seeing that actually I have a process in place where I know I'm using partner system, but it's not defined here. I don't see it. Then you can go in and you can click on the little bubble and you can say my process XYZ is not connected. So maybe this is a way to also let people know. In this case, I'm letting the owner, the asset owner of the application know by clicking this. So it's then plotted here into my overall model comments with opens, to-dos, and so forth. So you can go in and you can then also resolve them and delete them, right? The person who's the asset owner will be notified. But if you notice that I can also tag, right? So if I click here the little button, I can also use an @ and then tag somebody else if I wish to, right? So this is a mechanism where also very often readers, so if I go into read and explore scenario where the data is blocked for editing, so it's consumable, the comments functionality is still there. This is very useful because you might have a lot of people who are going to consume the data, going to look at the models, are going to look at the assets, and they might want to give feedback, right? So this is a mechanism to provide that feedback quite easily. And again, such a view here, you can then export, you can validate based on rules, share it and so forth. So there's many mechanisms here on getting involved essentially and providing information that you might have towards other stakeholders also here. Any questions up until this point? I've been talking a lot, but anything unclear or anything you would like?
No, it's very clear.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, good. Notice that I'm creating a lot of stuff now from predefined data, right? So all of these assets are already in the tool. I've not created anything in that sense. I'm utilizing already created content. So you might wonder, how do I create the content, right? So let's open up here this little, what is that, little arrow here, right? It opens up my repository. It's kind of hidden, but there it is. And then I can open up my repository. I can see my objects. I can see my models. So objects typically are assets. And then other models are typically combinations of those assets representing a view or a structure or something like that. And the quick access where I see favorites and recently opened data, right? So I already here created a couple of sample information, I called them sample. PST is my shorty here. And in models, I also have a folder. So I'm going to create in this folder a model. You can do it this way. You can also click the new button, and then it opens up here all the different assets from the Archimate. So obviously I'm maybe I did not mention it until now, but it's Archimate. So all of these assets are have a certain standard behind them. The standard is Archimate, which is the global standard for enterprise architecture modeling, right? And there I can create the business process diagram. So if I do that, I will have this blank canvas here, and I can then give it a name, model sample. I'm just going to call it like that. Can set it as a favorite. Also here I have all my stuff. I have my comments, right? I have my share, my export, and then I can start modeling, right? I can create. One way to create data or objects or assets is in a modeling perspective. So I can click on the application component, and there's this assistance here that helps me model. I click on the interface, and now I have a bunch of options with the strongest one on top. So our ADOIT already allows me to focus or filters out the possible connections between one asset and the other. So I'm taking the top one. That's the composition. And then I might use here serving, right? And from here, I might then use a data object that we're accessing. All right, so very simple here. I built up this structure, and these assets are now also created in the repository. They have now like a general name because I cannot have redundant objects or assets. So that's why I have this hex code name here, right? Then I can contextualize if I wish them. Another approach would be to go into the objects here and take these that I've already pre-created by just clicking create object, and I can create them in the folder, in the repository here. And for instance, I can drag and drop one into the other. Let's drag and drop this one and this one. And it's going to ask me, how do you want to make the relationship? I'm going to be the responsible business actor maybe. And this one here, what it's going to be? It's going to be the accountable business actor. And the application to the process is going to be serving. And the system software, I'm going to leave the system software out for now. So I'm going to take all of those four, I'm going to select them, plot them in here, and notice the connections are also made because I've created them already beforehand in my repository. I can then also go in and select this and drag and drop it into my model like that, let it drop, and it's going to be, let's say, serving. So now it's a serving relationship here. It should be actually the other way around, but it doesn't matter. So I'm creating via drag and drop either into a modeler view or within the repository relations. Now, what have we done? If I open this one up here, notice I have information. These are my so-called properties. These are predefined properties, best practice properties, including also remember how we had the classification field. So there's a couple of drop downs that you can see here. All of them are kind of like best practice pre-made approaches. Having said that, you as a client can also then create your own properties, your own attributes, your own drop down fields, your own description fields, or even relational fields. So if you feel like you need, I don't know, some other type of specialization here, right? You can rename it. You can also call it your own specialization. Track boxes, like down here, this actually, at some point I created myself init system app type ABC, right? Doesn't make sense, but I created it. And also there in the little information button, you can then type in what should happen. Is it a mandatory, like this one description, it's a mandatory attribute or not? This all helps a lot when you do validation checks, right? You can validate based on rules that you can also define and make sure that when people build up their data and their content, they follow similar structures and rules so that there's consistency, right? Going back here. So I'm not going to show you now today how you create it. It's an administration toolkit. It's a background, back office tool where you can configure a lot of functionalities. You can configure access rights. And you can also then create your own attributes, your own chapters, right? Or your own filters. Up here it says compact and all. So notice then it's less and it's a bit more. You can create own filters that then specify maybe a filter for the HR people and a filter for the IT related people. Notice also up here, I'm not going to go much into that either, but you can define meta model profiles here, right? Very quickly via these checkboxes, or you can also then in the tool himself define also structures of powers. So if I click on new and I'm, for instance, a business stakeholder, I might not even have an option to create an application component or anything related to the applications with the blue here or the technologies with a green, maybe only the yellow stuff. That's going to be a setting that I can do in the toolkit. I can view the information in a read-only manner, but maybe not create it, right? You can also then go in and actually define that within the within the attributes, only certain fields are read-only. Maybe the valid from and valid until is blocked, and only one person can change them, right? You can define that as well. So long story short, there's a lot of configuration, access rights, options, and flexibility in how the meta model is done or structured. Sticking back here to this one here, let me add maybe a couple of more things here. Capability, I think that should be fine. Up here you have a viewpoints or filters, viewpoint filters. I don't know how we officially call them. Hide, show, well, it doesn't matter. I call them viewpoint filters. So you go in business and you see here, you can see the business-related objects that are visible and changeable. Maybe the physical, there we don't have anything there. Maybe application-related, we have those. And obviously, this is quite useful when you have a structure or models that are a bit more complex with a lot of layers that could be used, right? And notice if you export a picture, also it's going to take then the color correspondingly here. A good approach, if you, for instance, don't want to have everything in one place, and you want to say, okay, behind this application component or behind this application component, I actually have a bunch of technologies, right, that are supporting this application. And then you can go in and you can then take a model, for instance. I don't even know which one. Let's take this one here. And you can just drag and drop it into your application. And you say it's an associated model. And when you do that and somebody then clicks it, then you'll have your associated model. So this could be, for instance, my technology support for the application. It could be my strategic model where I see how this application fits in strategic principles and goals and so forth, right? So then you can click it and it takes you to the corresponding model that you had a moment ago, okay? So this is also ways to not have it all in one place, right? Another approach is here in the tabular format. So I can create also a tabular view that I can then export in a obviously tabular way. I can define what are the attributes that I want to see. So maybe I want to see only, let's say, the responsible, accountable business actor and what it realizes and the name. So now I'm seeing a table with this information. And from here, you can do it kind of like a drag and drop. You can maybe take those two and say those two are going to be accountable for this application up here, right? And if you say, well, this happens also there and maybe there. I'm sorry, this one, and this one. 1 second. Let me select this one to here. Then you can paste them, right? So you can do easier, instead of drag and drop into one, you can do like a more, I would say, granular, based on what attribute you want to have here approach, right? And also, this is a good way to fill out information. Another way to get data into the tool is by, let's go into the import. Let's create an import folder and let's create here the import template. So I can import and export Archimate Exchange data, but I can also use an Excel template. This is a manual approach where I can then define or configure my my templates to be used to import the information. So now I'm downloading my standard Excel import template in English, and hopefully it's going to open at some point here. Let me check. Let's open it. Okay, it's opening up now. Actually on the other screen, let me pull it over here. So that's my.
How do we visualize this views?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I think it's clear in this point.
Yes.
But I have a question from a final result side. Is there customized views or reports based on roles like executives or architects or IT manager?
I mean, at the end of the day, any data that you have here, so let's maybe go into my search and let's say you want to have your capabilities, okay? This is your data that you have in the system, your 44 capabilities. These are our standard kind of like report mechanisms that we have. And for instance, you can go into a good one for better understanding of the capabilities. Would be here a box in box, where you can then define give me please the capability realization. You can also rename them. You can call them, you know, C-level report for, I don't know, business manager or something, right? So then it's going to take, no, this is not so nice. Let me maybe take this one here. This one is a bit nicer. So here you see your capability and you see all the corresponding assets that realize this capability, right? And if you then scroll in here, you can see, for instance, the high-level capability and the corresponding assets that realize it. You can extend it, take away information. If I click it, I can take it away, right? If I can say I don't want it, I can also add another one here. If I wish to, I can add another asset or another relation in that sense, right? It depends on how you name it, right? And also how you structure it here. You can be like a 10-box view here. So this could be a high-level view of all your capabilities that you have, right? It could be quite useful for better understanding the capability landscape. So I basically took all my capabilities for my search query. I did not specify anything, even the ones that don't have any information here, right? Maybe also high level for management is quite useful. If you go in here, I have something prepared in my business architecture, business capability map, for instance. So you have your high level view of your capabilities. This can be also nice. You go in, you're a manager, you're like, okay, that's my capabilities that I have, my high level capability, enterprise and management support, front and back office. And these are the subsequent capabilities belonging to it. You can go in here, you can do a color overlay, and you can say, okay, please show me the business fit of the capabilities. Please show me the cost fit of the capabilities. So very quickly, you can then go in maybe in a workshop and you can go in, we need to maybe better up, for instance, this front and back office. It doesn't have a good cost fit. And also these two. Those are the ones we might want to focus on. From there, you can do further structures and further analysis. Kind of like in the beginning where we had the tabs, the different tabs, you can maybe create a portfolio view of your different views. But these are kind of like standard visualization approaches. Now, somewhere in the slides that were presented before, I saw the word Power BI. So we do also have a Power BI connector, which is basically, it's free. It just needs to be activated. So where is it now? Let me just check here. There's the marketplace, and there's also information on connections to other third-party tools. And then there's also one here, ADOIT Connect for Power BI, right? So this kind of like link, you can have a look into some of our connections. They're all based essentially on APIs. So there's also here a link, an open link on the ecosystem of ADOIT, and including there, you also have then Power BI, right, which is also a possibility. And then you can export any data. I'm sorry?
There is a problem with your voice.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now better, or?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Does the system provide the interface with the Arabic language or only in the English?
So for the user interface, so you notice up here we have these are our user interface languages, but let me quickly, so what is possible is content language. So content language, let me just quickly open up here my Google Translate. So there's my Google Translate. I'm gonna, there's Arabic here. I cannot, there you go. So let's do it this way. Application of me, let's just call it that way. So this is my Arabic writing. So if I'm here and I create, for instance, a new application, I'm then able to set the content language, meaning the description fields and all these, and like ID or descriptions or any other type of content language. And this, you notice, it also saves it there. So if I go like this, it's going to be in Arabic. There's no user interface in Arabic though, right? So here it is. So for the important data like description and the names of these objects, we can use then Arabic or any other language in that sense, right?
That's clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it a cloud-based application or?
It's both. So it's cloud-based. Our cloud-based approach, or our center, our server, are AWS Germany, and the disaster and recovery is AWS France. This is the kind of like first option, standard option. Then we also have Cloud Sigma in Switzerland with the disaster and recovery in EONOS Germany. This is the second option. We do not have any server running currently as of today outside of the EU. So for cases in the Middle East or also we've had this also in other places in the world. Very often the on-premise option is the way to go. So with the on-premise option, we can provide you the